Good morning, guys. Thank you for having me at the PhD Tech Talk. I'm a proud alumni of PhD Tech, so it gives me double pleasure to be back at my alma mater to talk on a TEDx. It's amazing. Thank you so much. When you guys had come to invite me for the TED Talk thing, and you gave me the topic of when life gives you lemons, it was really, I thought it was an amazing topic considering the pandemic situation and what we've been seeing in the last 1 year or so. I think everybody is going through challenges and very trying times, and I think we've chosen a very apt topic to talk about this year. But before I get into the talk, there are a couple of things I want to clarify. One is, I'm not going to talk about the pandemic. I'm not going to talk about what the virus has done to this world in the last 1 year, how our businesses have suffered, how people have suffered, how many lives have been lost, all that. I'm not going to talk about it because I think we've spoken enough about it, and everywhere we turn today, it's only about this pandemic and how we're about to see another wave of resurgence in India and how businesses are going to get closed again, with lockdowns may come. So that's not something I'm going to talk about today, okay? You already have enough of that. And I think we could all use a healthy dose of optimism to get us out of this pandemic. Number two, I'm not going to talk about Annapurna. I'm sure I was introduced as the executive director of Annapurna, the third generation entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not going to talk about Annapurna because the minute I start talking about Annapurna, a lot of these budding and wannabe entrepreneurs, they immediately shut out their mind because Annapurna is a well-established, successful, a well-known brand. So obviously the challenges are less. They think it's easier to run a well-established, already running engine. So whatever challenges I tell you about Annapurna, what we faced in Annapurna, you're going to take that with a pinch of salt because all said and done, it is a well-established company. Well, that's not entirely true, even though it's not entirely true. I do tend to agree that there are a lot of positives in being a well-established brand. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about Annapurna also. So what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about my company that I founded in 2011 called Damodar Foods. This was a company that I founded along with my sister in 2011. Basically, both of us are food technologists. I finished my bachelor's in engineering at PG Tech, then went abroad, did my master's in food technology, and I was working as a food technologist until my family circumstances forced me to come back to India. So once I came back to Annapurna, my hands was full with Annapurna. So about 2-3 years later, I decided that we should do something about the food business. I wanted to do something. That's what I studied. I wanted to do something in the food business, something that is not regular restaurant or anything, something different. So that's when my sister had completed her master's also in food technology. So we decided, okay, let's start something, and we started this company called Damodar Foods, which was supposed to be an R&D company providing solutions to the food industry, to providing solutions to budding food entrepreneurs, to restaurant people, to catering, whoever it is. So we wanted to develop products, provide more technical solutions and stuff like that. So we had a small space behind our house. So we invested a little bit of money that I had in my pocket. I got some money from my dad. We put in a little bit of, and then we set up a nice R&D lab and a couple of office spaces for us people to sit and everything. And we started in 2011. We were very hopeful, very aspirational. We wanted to, become a very cutting-edge R&D firm as far as food technology is concerned. That's how we started. About 6 months or a year into that, what happened was all the money we had was slowly starting to dry up. Obviously we couldn't keep endlessly pumping money into the business, so we decided that we should do some commercial activity where we'll generate revenue. Maybe we can make some product, sell it, generate revenue out of it, and keep this R&D running. So it was in 2012 that we decided, okay, let's start a new brand that will sell packaged South Indian snacks. So our inspiration was Haldiram's. We thought if Haldiram's can do packaged North Indian snacks in North India and be so successful, why can't we become the South India Haldiram's? Which is a very lofty aspiration. But then, we were young, we wanted to try it, so we thought, okay, might as well do it. Okay, let's see what will happen. So that's how we decided, okay, we'll get into the packaged South Indian snacks business. So we immediately set things into motion. We formed a brand name. I found a place near the office itself for rent for us to manufacture, because we wanted to set up a manufacturing facility. We wanted to manufacture, package, and distribute these products. That was the aim. So we set up a huge manufacturing. We rented a place about 20,000 square feet. We set up a huge manufacturing facility. Immediately we started hiring a marketing team. We had really good marketing team from Coke and Hindustan Lever and all the top guys. And we started developing products. We started designing the packaging. And I thought we had a very, very nice lineup of products, good packaging, a good team. So what could stop us, right? And we thought, come on, the world, sky is the limit. We could go about and we will surely be the Haldiram's of South India. So when all this was, starting to slowly get into action, that's when we decided we also needed some money to, keep this business running. So I wanted to get a bank loan. So I thought, okay, bank loan should be easy because I've already been in Annapurna. We already work with certain banks regularly. Annapurna works with certain banks regularly, so I meet the managers on a daily basis. So we could talk to them, get a loan. So I prepared a nice, beautiful project saying this is what I wanted to do. This is the loan I wanted. I went and submitted to the bank. The bank manager was very cordial. He said, yeah, sure, sir. We'll immediately get it approved. We know you, sir. We know you can do wonders. So we'll definitely get it approved. So I was also very buoyant. Yes, super. The first loan on this now, immediately we'll get it running. We'll take it to the next level. So 1 week later, this manager calls me. He says, "Sir, everything is through. We've spoken to that upper management. Everybody is ready. There's just one small glitch." I said, "Yeah, sure. Whatever it is, we'll solve it." He says, "Sir, we want Annapurna to stand guarantee for the loan." So basically, which says if I don't pay up the loan, Annapurna will be liable to pay the loan. Which I did not believe in. This is something that I want to do on my own. I did not want to have the shadow of Annapurna on this even one bit. So I said, no, Annapurna will not stand guarantee. In fact, I did not even take this to the board of Annapurna to see if they would be interested in standing guarantee or anything, because this is something that I did not believe in. I said, no, it will not stand. Then he said, sir, okay, sir, let me think about it. 2 days later, he comes back in a very nice way, says, there is no way we can fund unless Annapurna stands as a guarantee. In fact, I was ready to give collateral. He knows that I was educated, my sister was educated, we had our degree certificates, we had already product development was done, he could come and see what was happening. But still, they said, no, sir, it's a greenfield project, we will not touch it. Fine. Then I went to another bank, then another bank, another bank, all the big banks. So I spent about a good 1 month, 45 days, just walking up and down banks, presenting to them, talking to them, telling them, if we can get something done. Nobody, not even one bank was interested to give me a loan without the backing of Annapurna. That's when you realize the value of your own education, your own expertise, nothing. Nobody values anything anymore. So I was talking to one of my friends, a banking friend, and all this happened, and the business is starting to take off, and suddenly there's no loan, I don't know what to do. And he's asking me, Jagan, why didn't you come to me with this loan? I was actually taken aback. The truth is, I never thought about going to him. He was a good friend who helped me open my account when I first came back from the US. He was the one who set up my savings bank account, my basic FDs or whatever. And he's the one who takes care of my account. Suddenly he's telling me, why did you come to me? And actually, I never thought about it because I never thought of him as a banker. I always thought of him as a friend. So he says, you come to me tomorrow morning. So the next day morning, I go to him with the same project report. Within 24 hours, he sanctioned the loan for me. That was an eye-opener. That was probably my first lesson. That's when I started valuing the relationships that I started building. When we really honestly have a relationship with a person, when you value them and when they value you, they will go out of the way to make sure that you get your things done. But that value, that relationship should come with an underlying honesty. It cannot be done for business. It has to have a genuineness in the relationship. So that was an eye-opener. Within 24 hours that could have been sanctioned. Any of the managers could have done this, but they did not do it because they did not want to take a risk on me. So that is when I realized the value of the relationships. Number two, once we finished this, so now the money is there. So we started immediately, we had hired a facility, so we had taken it on rent, our plant is ready. So immediately we start buying raw materials because we want to start manufacturing, and we decided, okay, we launch. I think it was by the time all this was done, it was almost end of 2012, beginning of 2013. So we immediately started buying all the raw materials. We want to start manufacturing. So probably about 1 or 1.5 months before the launch, when we were very busy with the plant setup and all thing, one fine morning, corporation officials come to the plant that we had leased out. They come, they seal the building, lock the building, walk away. That was a huge setback. Probably one of the most I would say depressing days in my life. Because there was about 30-40 lakhs worth of raw materials sitting inside, all perishable raw materials, because it's food, it's all perishable raw materials. The team which was all, super pumped up and supercharged. Everybody could see what was happening. It was such a letdown, so everybody is discouraged, everybody's feeling low, everybody feels like they've just lost the battle. It was basically a drive by the corporation to log all unauthorized constructions, and I didn't know that the building I had leased was unauthorized. It was my mistake. So that was my lesson number 2, that it doesn't matter what you do, just make sure you do everything as per law. Make sure that whatever it is, whether it's your building or rental building or whether it is whatever, make sure it is all as per law, and there is no other problem from that, because the law is not something that you can take on and win. So try to make sure that you're on the right side of the law always. So that was the second most important lesson for me. So I went to the court, fought my battles, told them this is what happened, it was a genuine mistake. The court agreed, they let it open probably after 45-50 days. But in 50 days, all the raw materials that I had bought, at least most of it, had completely gone back. So I had to completely dispose the entire raw materials, at least 15 lakhs worth of raw materials was disposed. Again, I had to buy the raw materials again. By this time, I'm running low on cash, because whatever I received, I spent on these raw materials, the packaging materials, salaries, rentals, and setting up the plant and all that. So it was time for launch. We did a huge launch party. We did a nice, beautiful press meet. There was coverage in all press media and everything. A lot of inquiries, a lot of distributors we signed on, a lot of retailers we signed on. It was all again. Slowly we got back to the same place where we were about 2 months back. We had our charge back. We felt very energetic. We felt very positive. So we started selling. We started placing it in the stores, and we got good feedback from the customers. So we thought, what, maybe it was all worth it. Okay, so now it's finally, slowly taking off. Probably in 6 months or 1 year's time, it'll all be history. We'll be looking at the next big unicorn in food industry and blah blah blah. And slowly 2 months later, 3 months later, this business started coming down. The sales started coming down. So immediately we had a huddle with all my sales team, and I'm finding out what is wrong. And the next thing they tell me is they want me to advertise. They want me to spend money, put it in papers, put it in TV, put it in radio, whatnot. And they want me to spend. The budget they were giving me was something insane. That was not something that was discussed before. They had not told me that this is the budget I had to spend on advertising, because whatever budget they had given me, it was all exhausted. We had already spent it. And another month later, we started getting returns from the customer, from the retail stores. And that's when I started wondering, why are the returns coming? So that's when I started going to the market, and I find out that most of these sales guys who promise you that kind of sales figure, this kind of, they're dumping these products on the distributors, and the distributors are holding stocks of them. So suddenly they started returning it because it's not selling, it's getting closer to the expiry date, so the customer is not buying, so they're giving it back to us. So I'm sitting on stockpiles and cartons of rejected product, which was made with so much hard work and so much money and effort, and I had to now cut open the packs, dump them in garbage, and it was probably the most painful times I ever, because this is food at the end of the day. We see people suffering without food, but this food is coming back to me where this was made with so much pain, and now I have to cut it and then throw it in the garbage, and it was the most depressing thing. That's when I learned a very valuable lesson. Never do stuff that you have no idea about. I was a proper food technologist. I know what manufacturing is. I know how to have shelf life of product. I know what kind of packaging material I need to select. All that was my strength. My weakness is I did not know sales. I did not know what distribution is. I did not know how the distribution network worked. I don't know how to work with retailers. I don't know how to work with distributors, how to manage the sales team, how to make sure that they're doing their job, how to make sure returns don't come back to me. I had absolutely no clue about this. So it was a complete, a slap on the face. Basically, I had no idea. So I should have just focused on my strength, and I should have left the whole weakness to somebody else. I did not know that. I just went in thinking, how hard can it be? How difficult can it be? Obviously we have the experience, we have the brand name, blah blah blah, and it was a big disaster. So the entire brand, the entire company came crashing down. And now I was left with nothing but about 2.5 crores in debt. I put all the money I had, all my savings, everything into the business. It was the end of 2013, in 2014, the first March is when I was supposed to be married. So my marriage was fixed. I decided, this is not needed. It's 2.5 crores. We'll somehow, take from whatever money I make, we'll settle it. Let's close this business. Let's wind this up. Let's just find something else to do, or let's just focus on Annapurna. But somehow inside my mind, it was something that I was not ready to give up easily. Because this is something I wanted to do. This is something I know, as far as the manufacturing side is concerned, I know I'm very strong. I can do a good product. I can manufacture. I can give a good shelf life. I know all the technical aspects of it. So I was thinking what I should do. Now this is when the fourth important lesson I learned. It is something, we never look at possibilities that are not there. We only look at possibilities that we know, because our eyes are like, how the horses have. You only look at things that you know. You never look at things you don't know. That's when I had actually a customer who came and knocked on my door. I still remember the January of 2014. He was from the US. He said he wants me to manufacture snacks for him and in his brand. So this is something called private labeling. So basically all the big brands you see, right, from Wilburys, Big Basket, Reliance, to all the big brands, Hindustan Lever, most of the products are not made by them. It is made by somebody else. This is called private labeling. So I never knew that this was an industry that I could explore. So this guy tells me, I want it in my brand name, I want to buy so much and so much. He said, I can take 1 container a month from you. So 1 container is about 10 tons of products, which was, at that time, anything, even if 1 kg was selling, it was a huge deal for me, because I could pay my salaries, I could pay my rent. I said, okay. And he comes to me and says, he's buying at present for 100 rupees a kilogram, and he wants me to give it at the same 100 rupees. I said, you know what, I'll do it, it doesn't matter, I'll do it at 100, but I want to do it. So that's how I started my business, So that's when I decided, that we should start focusing on private labeling, and let's see how that goes. The first year, in 2014, I did 2014-15 financial year, we did about 10 containers. And that 100 rupees, that is something that he taught me. The customer told me this is the price he can buy at. And that's when I realized what are the inefficiencies in my process. what should I do to make sure that I reach that 100 rupee target and still make a profit on that? So I had to completely rethink my process, completely rethink my operations, completely rethink my costing structure, what I have to do, how I have to do it. I had to do all this without compromising the quality. Okay, today, 2014, so we're about 6 years later, we do at present about 10 containers a month. We started with 10 containers a year, we do about 10 containers a month. The coming year, we're planning to do 15 containers a month. Mostly exports, we sell to the US, to UK, to Canada, to London, to the Middle East. And this year, we've just signed an agreement with Big Basket to be their private label supplier for South Indian snacks. We are in talks with Reliance. Reliance wants to sign us for being to be an exclusive South Indian snack supplier. I mean, we are still in debt. I'm not saying we are out of debt, but at least now I'm able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. The only reason I'm able to do that is because that day I decided, you know what I thought was wrong, but there is something else in some other avenue that I've not even looked at. That is private labeling. So if at that point, if I had been too conceited to even look at that, I would not have looked at that industry. Now I'm hoping. Now my idea, my vision is to become the largest private label snack supplier in India. We want to do that in the next 5 to 6 years, and we are poised to go there. We are doing good volumes now, and I'm sure we will get there. It doesn't matter how long it takes, but we will get there one day or the other. I'm not even 1% doubtful. Now, what I would like to tell to the entrepreneurs here is, every entrepreneur, doesn't matter who he is, it doesn't matter what his background is, what his brand is, if he is an entrepreneur, he has gone through his tunnel of shit. Sorry for the language, but I could not find a better expression. Everybody goes through their whatever, you have to do your time, you have to give your 100%. There will be times when you will be tested, you will be put down, you will be stamped upon, nobody will trust you, but you have to be consistent. If I had let this business go in 2012, I will not be sitting here in 2021 talking about this business to you. I stood there in 2013 and 2014 and 2015 when I made loss every year after year, but I did not give up on the business. Business is like an organism. You have to feed it, it will thrive, but you have to be there, you have to be there patiently. It's like bringing up a child. You have to spend your time, you have to give it the time, you have to educate it, you have to hold its hands. Sometimes there will be tantrums, but you have to put up with it. But if you do put up with it, the rewards are amazing. Okay, you are your own boss. You have a team of 100, 200 people working for you. In fact, last month, one of my employees came and asked me, "Sir, what is your vision? Where do you want to take this company?" I did not tell him this is the X turnover I want. I told him my vision is to have 500 people working for me. The day when I am able to make a difference in the lives of 500 people is when I think I have really made a difference. Okay, thank you for giving this opportunity. I hope I've inspired at least a little bit in you. I think everybody, if I can become an entrepreneur, anybody in this world can become an entrepreneur. I'm not very smart, I'm not very sharp, I'm not very savvy, but if I can start something on my own and at least bring it to this level, anybody can do anything. So don't think that life is giving you lemons. Life is actually giving you lessons. It's giving you stepping stones to go to the next level, to learn something new, to explore unexplored avenues, to look at things that you otherwise would not have looked at. Only when there is a curveball, you start looking to bat some other way. Okay? So take that all positively and see you guys soon.